And we're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Chief Kishir podcast. Here we talk about people, politics, and popular culture. I'm your host, the one and only Austin Creed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome. You're in for a good show. We're talking about immigration today. Because, look, I could talk about this, I could beat this topic to basically to extinction if I wanted to, and I probably will in the months and years to come. But the one thing that got my goat was listening to so I'll preface this. I listen to a lot of speeches, whether they're in office, they were in office, they're campaigning for office. I listen to speeches because I like to know what people say because their messages tend to evolve and change. They'll say one thing now, and then a month from now they'll say something different, and then I say, "Hold a minute, wait, pause. That's not what you said before. That's not what you were saying. You changed your message." And every politician does this, by the way. This is not unique to just one person. The problem is it becomes very disgusting when I know you said something in the past that contradicts what you just said, and I can barely find it. Now, if were to look up something that Trump said, I'd find it in 2 minutes. But turns out with Joe Biden, I gotta scrounge the internet, and I couldn't find it, and eventually I did. But it took me a while to find it because I gotta hand it to Google. I gotta hand it to Meta. I gotta hand it to these people, dude. And even on Twitter too. They're very smart. They're very good at covering for the people in power. They're very good at it. It's almost like they're all on the same team. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? I meant they're not on the same team. No. There's no correlation at all. The people who are rich and the people who have power, they never collude. Everybody knows they all work independently of everybody else. And if you ever think otherwise, well, then you're just wrong. And in fact, you probably voted for Trump and you're probably an enemy of the state. So of course I would never dare to assume that. But nonetheless, folks, we're gonna get into this. I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about today because I think it's important. Number one, and I like to set the record straight. So we're gonna listen to that, and we're also going to listen to what Trump versus what Biden said back on the campaign trail. And then I'm going to give you some numbers. In fact, you know what? I'll give you the numbers up front in case you want to rewind the show as you're watching it and you want to compare. I'll do it right now because otherwise you're going to forget what they said. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bring up these. But before I bring up the statistics that I got for the show today, before I ask my first question, I want to let everybody know that number one, I ask a lot of questions. I make a lot of comments that some might find distasteful, others might identify as the truth. But, the truth tends to be very distasteful to those who are, unfamiliar with it or foreign to it. So if you want to let your voice be heard, whether it be aligned with me or in disagreement with me, you can do that in the comment section of the video you're watching, or if you're on audio, you can go over to Twitter at Austin Creed, and you can direct everything right over there. Because I want your voice to be heard. I don't like just... Look, I'm happy if you agree with me, obviously. Who isn't? But if you disagree with me and you want to say something, then by all means, I want you to let your voice be heard. I'm not like Joe Biden. I'm not like Occasional Cortex. You know her as AOC. I'm not like these people. I like to actually hear the opposition so I can look at it and say, hey, you know what? Maybe they had a valuable point here. Maybe they are coming at this in a way that I am unable to see. Maybe they come at it in a way that I can't, and so I gain a new insight as a result of that. There's something I can glean from that, versus if I don't hear it, and I only live in an echo chamber, well, then I'm no better than the people I criticize, as far as I'm concerned. So that's why I'm more than happy to discuss stuff with you if you disagree with me. Now, obviously, I want you to do it in a respectful way. If you come on to my Twitter and you call me all kinds of names and blah blah blah, I'm not gonna respect you enough to respond. I don't do that. I don't waste my time. My ancestors did not survive millions of years of evolution and natural selection for me to argue with people on the internet for a living, okay? I'm not going to do that. I'm really not going to do it. So, let's look at, again, topic today is immigration. I'm titling the show today, Illegal Immigration and Illegitimate Institutions. A lot of I words, I know. However, I present you with Exhibit A. CNBC says, report, more than half of immigrants are on welfare. And you thought they came here to work, huh? Well, you were half right. They came here to work. They came here to work the system, not work in the fields, not work in the factories, not found their own business. No. But of course, that's not what the ACLU says. We'll get into that in a second. But I really wanted to explore this because it says, now this is not even Fox, which is not even that conservative in my opinion. This is CNBC of all places, and even they can't. You know, when the mainstream media admits something, you know that it's worse than it actually is. You know it's worse than what they're telling you, but they know that they have to maintain some shred of credibility, so they actually bring it up. And this is a perfect example. More than half of the nation's immigrants, which most of them are going to be illegal aliens as well, but they don't talk about that from what I've seen so far. They just say immigrants are migrants. They don't discriminate between here illegally or here illegally. They say more than half of the nation's immigrants receive some kind of government assistance or welfare, a figure that's far higher than the native-born. No kidding. According to a report released on Wednesday, about 51% of immigrants or immigrant-led households receive at least one. That's at least one. So it could be more than one. It could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 50, 11, who knows? But at least one kind of welfare benefit, including Medicare, food stamps, school lunches, housing assistance, etc., compared to only 30% of native-led, in other words, Americans, according to a report from the Center of Immigration Studies, a group that advocates for lower levels of immigration. Okay. Might have to look them up. These numbers increased with households with kids. That's not even including kids. That's just adult immigrants. Now, for ones who have kids, 76% receive welfare, compared to the 52% of native-borns. There's no way that half of Americans receive welfare. There's no way. But my goodness, dude, 76% of immigrants with children, welfare. Over 50% without even having kids, welfare. At least one, could be more. In fact, I guarantee you it's more than one, because if you're going to dip your beak in, why aren't you going to take the biggest gulp you could possibly get? It says the findings are sure to fuel debates on the presidential campaign trails as Republican candidates focus on changing the nation's immigration laws from calls for mass deportation to ending birthright citizenship. See, this is another interesting point. The whole birthright citizenship. Personally, I'm of the mind of we need to end this. They ended it in Canada. We need to end it here because birthright citizenship was, I believe it's the 14th Amendment. Correct me if I'm mistaken on that. I believe it's the 14th Amendment. Actually, you know what? I'm going to look this up live just to make sure I know what I'm talking about. Because, I actually want to make sure that I'm right on this. And it'll prove that I'm actually paying attention in my classes. Birthright Citizenship Amendment. Oh! Look at that! It is the 14th Amendment. I was right. Look at that. I was right. Look at that. See, I know what I'm talking about. I don't just talk outside my booty. I know what I'm talking about here. Now, when it comes to birthright citizenship, I'm of the mind of it's long overdue that we got rid of it. Because that was intended for the children of slaves so that their children will be American citizens. We don't have that anymore. In fact, we haven't had it for over 150 years. So, in the spirit of progress, what is it with the progressives? I thought they loved progress. What happened to everything that's change is good? Well, apparently not changing birthright citizenship. Apparently they don't like that change, so it's only the change that they like that leads more towards, the communistic side, apparently. I thought all change was good change, according to the progressives out there. But it's disgusting to me that this isn't talked about more. In fact, you know what? You want to know what the ACLU says? For all of those of you who love the ACLU, you're very suspect in my opinion. Because either A, you're an alpha cheating the system, or you're a delta who thinks who's just doesn't know any better. In other words, you're smart and a liar, or you're ignorant and don't know any better. Because according to the ACLU, they say, look at this, they say that, look at this. Here's the question they're debating. It says, is it true that immigrants take jobs away from Americans? And are they a drain on the economy? And they spend this entire article discussing that. And here's the answer they have. They say, contrary to popular belief, immigrants do not, I repeat, according to the ACLU, immigrants do not take away jobs from American workers. Okay. Instead, they create new jobs by forming new businesses and spending their incomes on American goods and services, and paying taxes and raising the productivity of American businesses. Oh, well, they say immigrants are good for the economy, not the other way around. Oh, that sounds very nice, doesn't it? Until you apply logic to it and it makes no sense. Let me ask you something. As someone who is a self-incorporated business, Austin Creed, that's me. I had to buy my camera. I had to buy this microphone. I had to get this computer. I had to get these headphones. It costs your time and money and everything else to get a business off of the ground, right? We all agree on that? Okay, good. So I see these pictures of these people coming over the border, right? They're not coming over the border with Scrooge McDuck money. They're not coming over the border looking like the robber barons of a gone-by age in America. They're coming over the border with next to nothing. Do you think these people who will come over with next to nothing, they barely speak the language, they are in a new place in a foreign land and everything else, do you really think they're starting a business? I just gave you the statistics of at least 51% of them are on at least one kind of welfare. With children, with households containing children, 76%. And yet they want to sit here and tell me that they don't take jobs from American workers? Well, maybe they're right. Maybe they don't work at all and they just take the money from Uncle Sam's back pocket. And if they do work a job, so either A, the ACLU is admitting that they don't actually work at all, they just work the system. And if you say anything about it like I do, you're called a racist or any other name under the sun, so that they try to get you to dummy up. How do you... where are these new businesses they're talking about? I don't see them. Do you? Do you see these businesses they're talking about? I don't. They're good for the economy. If they're not producing anything and they're taking welfare like a leech, leeches don't help the organism they leech off of. That's why they're called a leech. They just take. They're a parasite. They're a bunch of criminals and they should be kicked out of the country. How's that? They're not productive for anybody but the socialist regime to try to get more power over you. That's all they're good for. All they're good for is to vote Democrat with a Spanish ballot. That's it. That's all they're good for. It's unbelievable to me. I can't believe it. I can't believe this. They have the nerve to sit here and tell me that the opposite is true. My folks, oh my gosh, my camera is about to croak on me. So here's what I'm gonna ask you to do. I'm gonna ask you to go over to the audio version of this. I try to. I guess I didn't plug my thing in correctly because it's gonna have to die on me. Head over to the audio part of this podcast because the video is about to clock out. Go over to Spotify. Go over to Apple Podcasts. You'll find it over there because. And for those of you on audio, you're watching the live live show fall apart here. My apologies. So, yeah, I'm just gonna have to clock that one out real quick, but we're gonna hop right in on audio. I'm gonna show you what Joe Biden used to say and what he's saying now about immigration and asylum seekers, so-called, and then we're gonna compare that with Donald Trump. Before you go, and before my camera dies, Biden is spending $86 million to house them in hotel rooms. Do you really think the government's doing it for free? I doubt it. And we'll get into that in a second. But I'm going to turn off my camera real quick because it's about to die. So, I'm going to have to end the video part real quick. And then I will, if you want to keep listening to the show, you want to hear more, you want to listen to what Biden's going to say next, go over to the audio version and you'll listen to it over there because I'll still be streaming it on audio. All right. So for those of you on video, thank you very much. Have a nice day. I'm out. For those of you on audio, get ready for the next part of the show.